Okay, so we are actually live. Crazy.
I
Kirk,
feel it. I feel it.
we,
I feel
we
alive.
made it.
Thanks
Well,
to you.
yeah. So, as some of you, my Let's Talk Tuesday family, you guys know that when you just get me coming on right away with no fancy intro and music, that means Diego is not with me. And so welcome to another Diego Let's Talk Tuesday. He messaged me today to tell me that, oh bummer, he got tickets or an opportunity to go to the Dove Awards tonight. So he he asked permission, like I was supposed to say no, don't go to the Dove Awards. So anyway, he's at the Dove Awards, and actually a secret between just us, you guys. He texted me because I think they broadcast the Dove Awards eventually, and so they don't post the outcomes, but he secretly messaged me to let me know that Unsung Hero, which is a film I cast, just won their award. So, woo!
Oh my gosh, that's amazing! Congratulations. Great.
Yeah,
Let
so
me
that's,
change, move my fan. Great film. My Andy invited my wife and I to the screening. Phenomenal.
oh,
Congratulations.
well, thank you. I loved working on that film. So, Allie is saying hello from Coeur d'Alene, Idaho. Yeah,
Hey,
Rhonda Lynn gets to go. He's at the Dove Award. So, let's see.
is that in
William,
Tennessee?
it is. It's in Nashville.
Okay.
Yep. William, hello from LA. William is I love William's last name. It's Viriato. It's
Videato.
Viriato. Yeah. I
Videato. It
should
must be
say
Italian.
Viriato, right? Anyway,
Videato.
Grace Covington, great to see you guys and all of you guys joining us, our Tuesday fam. Um, the let's see, New York. We have New York and Amy from
Wow.
Alabama,
Oh,
and Robert K says hi everyone. Hi Beverly and Kirk. And let's see. Yes. So as you guys saw, because Diego isn't here, we're just going right into the meat of it. And this fine, I was going to say this way, but you're this way screen. This fine gentleman on screen with
oh.
me, you all, I'm sure, know from any of his number of films and TV work, but you may know him most recently as Gaius from The Chosen. And you look so much kinder tonight, Kirk.
Yeah. Well, thank you.
Yes, there you go.
Yeah, I mean,
Um,
I think it all. Yeah, I've got. Yeah, yeah. Anyway, you know how that goes. You get into the zone of the character and what's going
You
on, and
exactly. So Kirk BR Woller is our guest tonight, and I couldn't be more excited to talk with him. And Kirk, you and I had a chance to work. The first time I met you was back on with Dallas, of course, Jenkins on Midnight Clear.
was that
And
when you? That's when you came on board. That's when he started working with you casting. Was Midnight Clear
yes,
the
yes,
short or the feature?
the feature.
The
Yeah,
feature. So
yeah.
what year was that? What?
Oh
That's.
gosh, it would have been probably 15, maybe
It's at
even like
least.
18 years ago, something like
I'm
that.
gonna. That's where I met Mandy, the makeup artist on The Chosen, and I think it's
Oh,
almost 18 years.
yeah, that would make sense because it was, um, yeah, it was the first time I had worked with Dallas. I'd known him, but we hadn't worked together. That was the first opportunity. So, yeah, a long time ago. That I liked that film. I thought it had a lot of heart. I thought it was actually one of Stephen Baldwin's best
Baldwin's.
performances, personally.
Yeah.
Um, and of course, then Kate Callan, who did a beautiful job in that. And then, of course, we ended up casting her as Elizabeth for season 4 of The Chosen. So that was a nice little throwback to that first project. But I do remember on that project, Dallas saying, I have this actor who I use in everything. And he was talking about you, and I hadn't been familiar with you at all prior to that. And so that means you were in his short, right? Of the
Yes, yes, ma'am. Yeah,
Okay.
everything since it was the first film was Hometown Legend, which was
Yes.
1999, and he didn't
Wow.
direct that. He was the producer, and I could share a little story if interested how we met, but that's where it all started. Was Midnight Clip? I mean, was
Hometown Legend.
Hometown Legend. That was Terry O'Quinn,
Yes.
Lisa, Lacey Chabert, Nick Cornish. Yeah, so that was great.
Yeah. Well, that's awesome. Did you have any sense when you met him and he said, "We're going to work together"? Did we hear that a lot, right? We hear those things a lot, but how was it when he actually did follow through and call you and want to work with you again?
Well, I mean, as an actor, I think everybody can attest that somebody that wants to work you again is probably one of the greatest compliments you can
Hmm.
get as an actor, because
Yep.
that means they like what you did the first time.
Right.
So it's a complete honor. I want to really quick, because I know there are actors out there. This was about 25 years ago now. How did I meet Dallas Jenkins? Here's how. A friend of mine, because this is really important. A friend of mine had read Dallas's dad's book Left Behind, said they were
Mm.
turning it into a movie. My friend said, "You be a great Nikolai Coperni, I think. He
Yeah.
was the Antichrist.
Yes,
Anyway, she
exactly.
thought I'd be good for that. And so I looked up where the production company was, and I sent a picture, a resume, and a reel back to Louisville, Kentucky. Cold, they had no idea. 3 days later, I got a call from a guy named Dallas Jenkins, and he and his father were big NYPD Blue fans. So my character on
Oh.
NYPD Blue, that particular scene, I kill Andy Sipowicz Jr. So that's where it all started as a connection. And early on, he was
Wow.
actually asking me for advice on how to work with directors. And so, and then he shortly thereafter, that project fell apart. He was no longer a part of it, of the filming of that first Left Behind. Moved to LA, and then yeah, I saw all the kids be born. All
Oh.
We used to babysit Sammy D, Sam Jenkins, who's now like 25.
Right.
So I just
Yeah.
remember his anyway. So yeah, man, what
Sam's
I'm saying
working.
is,
So I was going to say Sam's working. So I'm just finishing up casting the first 4 episodes of the second season of Blue Ridge, and Sam's working on crew for Blue Ridge with Gary Wheeler
he
out
didn't.
in
He just told me at Chosen Con that he was going to go do a show. He never said what show. That's
yeah, that's what
fantastic.
it is. He's doing Blue Ridge with Gary Wheeler out in the Charlotte area.
Wow, that's
Yeah.
fantastic. Yeah, he does The Chosen as well. He's just a great kid, and Dallas and Amanda have just done such an amazing job raising all the kids. He's just humbly works hard, just like his dad. So to try to answer your question, it is the greatest compliment in the world, and I have to also say it started with that, and then we were making shorts and features, and nobody was really paying attention. You know what I mean?
Mm.
To the point
Hmm.
that Dallas thought his career was over. He left LA because he was getting no traction with films that were both secular and non secular. He went back to be like the head of video production or something along those lines at a big church in Chicago. So he really had to humble himself and go back to grassroots to take care of his family. And so then 5 years ago, got the call, "Are you interested? Would you be interested?" Like, of course. I mean, what kind of a question? Of course I'm interested. I'd love to. No,
Yes.
I don't want to. I don't want to work with you.
Don't want to be in your movie.
Yeah, no more. But it had been 20 years of projects, always great films, always heartfelt, always a great
Mhm.
story that never really got any traction. So the greatest joy for me, selfishly at this point with The Chosen, is to see his success and
Mhm.
Amanda's success. That is what makes me most happy. And I get choked up thinking about it, because I know how hard he's worked,
Yeah.
and I know what
Yeah.
he's been through. And any actors watching, man, you got to go for it. And
Mhm.
send pictures, resumes, no fear, and then just keep believing and keep working hard. And Dallas is a perfect example of that,
Yeah.
and one of the most loyal men I've ever met, probably
Yeah.
ever will. Yeah.
Well, and the worst thing that could have happened is that you sent it off and it sat on someone's desk and eventually ended up in the trash can. Like that's worst case scenario. but that's not horrible. Meaning, you know, no, nothing ventured, nothing gained, you know,
Absolutely.
nothing happens of it, no problem, but do it on the chance that something will come from
And
it.
I
And
and I think you really have to believe that as an actor. Like,
mhm,
it sounds cliche, but my mindset is success is my only option.
mm, yeah, yeah,
There's only one option. How soon you might get there, yet to be seen. But there's only one. There is no plan B.
yes,
Is so
yes,
you just
yeah.
keep going.
It doesn't mean it's easy, but you do that. That I think it's as much a mental um game or exercise
Oh
or,
yeah.
workout as it is keeping your physical things right, your headshots and resumes and all of that current. It is about getting the mindset right, or else, yeah, it can defeat you or beat you down or kind of mess with you. So,
I think, yeah, you got to be getting up every day to perfect what you do and get better and better and better. But in my
yeah.
opinion, those with the best mental game win.
Hmm.
Just
Yes.
look at it in athletics. It's like at some level, everybody, the playing field, everybody's equally talented. But
Hmm.
who has the best mental game? Fourth and
Yeah.
two, Super Bowl, Brady, for example, coming back 30 points down at halftime. The mental game it took to not come out and be defeated and turn it around and
Mm.
win that Super Bowl, whatever that was, is just a shining example of mental game.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
yeah, you've got to be so strong mentally, to be able to succeed at anything, but especially this business.
Well, and what's interesting is that comes across to us. So on the casting side, the directing, directors and producers, as you're watching, in the olden days when people came into the room,
What, we used to
you're
come in the room, really?
I, I know, imagine that. But even with the self tape, or definitely a live callback, like when now that we're doing like EcoCast live callbacks and chem reads and like Zoom callbacks and things, that sense of confidence, that sense of a strong center, um, that sense of I know what I'm doing here. I belong here. I've made choices that I feel good about, and I'm excited. I'm looking forward to delivering that to you, to showing that to you, or sharing that with you. That comes across to us just in the same way, kind of the opposite comes across, which is when there's a sense of desperation or a sense of like needing it so badly. That's hard because it it bleeds in the performance, and as much as you have compassion for those actors, it doesn't make for that person like feeling great about that's the best person to put on the set, right? You want someone who's confident, who knows what they're doing, who's making decisions, who's being proactive about the choices that you're making for a given character. It's interesting. I just did a coaching last week, and we were working on a monologue. I was working with her, and she had taped it, and then we were working on it live. Well, the version of the tape, I asked her, why she made certain choices, and she said, "Oh, I was working with a coach who was telling me that's probably what the casting director or director would want to see." And I said, "Oh, yeah."
I don't know if I could get my hands in there.
Yes, exactly.
Warning, warning, Will Rogers. No,
Danger,
no.
Will Rogers, danger.
Yeah, yeah. No, I'm kidding. So,
Yeah, that's immediate. I was like, "Oh, okay, no, 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 no. You'll drive yourself nuts trying to craft a performance around the thinking of this is probably what they want to see."
okay, I got a question for you, if I may. My guess is you're not even 100% sure what you're looking for, correct?
Right. We're looking for a great, interesting, intriguing performance. And that doesn't always mean drama. That can be comedy. We're looking for
Yes.
someone who who makes us believe that we are watching a person living these words and this moment for the very first time, that
Sure.
that they're processing what they're taking in from, the other person or the reader or whatever, that they're processing that for the first time, they're reacting for the first time, that it is so coming from such an internal place that it feels like we are a fly on a wall on a reality show, that we're just
Yes.
watching them, observing them. And the moments that are fun for an audience is and directors, depending on the genre, directors do this right, where they do a close up and we see something the audience, like that people in the scene with them don't, like a sense that they're lying, or that they're getting emotional about something, but they're trying to hide it, and those are the times we as the audience get a little bit of secret information based on the way the director chooses to shoot it. But those are very subtle things, right? When you're doing
Yes,
that
ma'am.
kind, and it can be all right here. So yeah, we don't know. We just want great, just
Yeah.
simple. It's simple.
And I think great, honestly, comes down to something that I always tell the students that I'm fortunate enough to work with, that the most unique thing in the world is you. No one is going to
Yep.
fall in love. If you have a scene, Beverly, no one's going to fall in love like you do. No one's going to break up like you do. No one's
Right.
going to get angry like you do. Nobody's
Right.
going to try to get somebody to change their mind like you do. So bringing in your own uniqueness, it's not only is it enough, but it's everything.
Yes.
So
Yes.
I think what you're saying is you want somebody to come in who can be themselves under these imaginary circumstances and
Hmm.
make that dialogue sound like it's their own, correct?
Yes. Yes.
So the best way to do that is to be yourself, make everything mean something to you, and live under those circumstances. And then
Yes.
I think that's how you go about accomplishing it. And yeah, you might not always be right, but you're always going to be telling the truth, and you will
Right.
be noticed, in my opinion. Tell me if I'm wrong.
No,
You
that
always,
you're exactly right. Because it doesn't mean you make the choice that the director has in his brain every time. It just means that you make a choice that we look and go, oh, that was interesting. That
Mhm.
was unique. That was grounded. That was real. And then that tells us that's a person who is working at a more complex level than the surface, sort of like, this is the obvious. It's all caps with exclamation points, which means I yell. Well, not
No,
necessarily. It doesn't have
not
to
at
be
all.
that, right? That all caps is an intensity, not necessarily a volume,
Great
right?
point. Yes, ma'am.
So it's interesting. So let's take that and talk a little bit about Gaius, because it's one thing to put ourselves in circumstances modern day in a world that seems familiar to us or that we can relate to. We're talking, biblical times, culture that's nothing like modern world or your world. So tell me what that process was like for you to figure out how to bring Gaius to life in a way that worked for you specifically, Kirk Woller.
I I like what you said, but I disagree in a little way, and that is
Okay.
on a human level.
Yes.
Humans in the first century were exactly like we are
Yes.
today.
Yep. You're right.
and
You're
and I
absolutely
think
right.
this is the I think part of the success of The Chosen is it's
Hmm.
taken these untouchable and stained glass windows down and made them human. They have
Yes.
problems. So in the first century, husbands and wives would get in arguments. They would have
Yeah.
disagreements. There was love. All the emotions that we experience today, we
Yes.
experienced then, and we're going to experience 1,000 years from now.
Yeah.
What's different is the rules,
Mm.
the protocol, the you know medicine sort of infrastructure. That's what's different. What's acceptable and what's isn't. So today, I play Gaius, and he's a centurion, then eventually a premier ordine, but now a praetor, and so I have the authority to basically hit somebody over the head. My job is to serve and protect because we were occupying that territory and the Jews, right?
Yes.
Today, I can't do that. I got a body cam on. I can't be whacking people over the head. So what was acceptable then is not acceptable now. So I
Yeah.
think that the idea is this is just a human being, and the time and place are different, but the humanity is exactly the same.
That's a great point. And I hope you guys really soak that in and take that, because that is the bottom line. That's why we today in 2024 can watch a show like The Chosen and relate to them,
Correct.
because what we're relating to is the humanity of them. We're relating to how they feel, what they go through, what they're processing, which, like you said, is not different.
The trap, the bad actor decides how they're going to do something. Oh, I'm first century. I'm a centurion, so I'm going to
Yes.
sound like this, and I'm going to
Yes.
posture like this, and I'm going to, I don't know, whatever. It's all an idea. It's not based on truth.
Yes.
The truth is, what is the imaginary circumstances telling you? Who are you? Who has authority? Who's who in this scene? And you use your humanity to fill that up with the truth for yourself. And I want to say that Gaius was described in those character descriptions as, I still have it, loves power, loves authority, loves dominance over others, has no friendship with Matthew, and on it went. That was the description. But when I looked at the material, I quickly saw, okay, I'm guarding this tax booth. This young man seems to be on the autistic spectrum. So my mind went, well, if I'm working with this guy 8 hours a day, 5 days a week, there's no way we wouldn't have some sort of connection or friendship. You can't just be a jerk all day long, 5 days a week. It doesn't work. That's not how life works. Yeah. So my instinct said, and it also, he reminded me of one of my son's friends who's on the autistic spectrum. So Dallas has family members on the autistic spectrum. So I used my understanding and brought that to the role, which was against sort of what they wrote. But that was my interpretation of what I would do if I was in that situation. Yes, I have power and authority. However, my humanity said, I'm going to treat him with respect. I'm going to treat him with decency, not necessarily happy kindness, but the idea is I'm going to bring my humanity and my interpretation to that material. And that's an example of using yourself. And it was saying that's not what they wanted, but I don't know how to do what they wanted, really, because that didn't make sense to me.
It didn't, right. Okay, so it didn't make sense. So then was there an opportunity, and I'm guessing because of you have such a good relationship with Dallas, most of the cast had never met him, didn't know him. And so it takes a little while for a working relationship to get established and communication, all of that. But so did you ever have a dialogue with Dallas about just that and kind of, hey, this is how I'm seeing it? And because those descriptions would have come from him, which is what's interesting. Yeah. But yet he wants you to become the character. So
yeah, exactly. So I think at best it is a partnership, a dance, a marriage of ideas. And so Dallas does not like stereotypes, nor do I.
Right.
So we walk into it knowing we don't want stereotypes. However, he did describe Gaius as sort of, I think he made a reference to Nazi at some point, just so stern. And I was like, okay. And so I think we just found happy ground, happy middle ground between, okay, we're going to do that, but there's also got to be that humanity underneath. And I also think that the writing and everything else helps dictate what happens in the scene. Yes. But the first scene where Gaius comes in and Matthew and I'm late for being to work, he wanted me to really be more imposing, so that when I say, I go, I do this thing with my hand. He wanted me to do this thing. I did it the way I felt. And he goes, do this on this line. And I'm like, what is this? Like, what is that? He goes, just try it. All right. So that's what ended up in the cut. And I see his point, because we needed somewhere to start to be able to go somewhere.
Right.
And in the beginning,
Right.
I had no idea where Gaius has now ended up after 4 seasons. I didn't know.
Right.
He didn't doesn't tell me, so I read the scripts just as the audience watches it. So I think it's a partnership. If I hope
Yeah.
I'm not talking too much about this, but
No, no,
I
no.
just
I love it. I love it. And
yeah,
I think that's great because what you talked about, and as a casting, I'm the person who puts out those brief little like one paragraph, descriptions, and you're trying to fit it all in, but these characters have to be more complex. Like, don't
yes,
treat those breakdowns as the be all
gospel.
end all. Like, they're the
Yeah,
starting point, but you couldn't have played that description for 7 seasons. Like, it just
no, and I think what you amazing casting directors do is give us actors a sense of who this guy is. So the sense
yes,
to me when I read that was, okay, this guy's strong. He has authority. He
yes,
is not afraid to use it. He's not afraid. So there's a certain power and strength that go with that. And I also see he can't just be that, because that doesn't make sense. He's probably married and he probably has kids. So there has to be something more than just that. So you bring in that strength along with this humility, and then I think you end up with something that's more than just a stereotype.
yes, yes. And that's exactly what we're asking the actors to do, which is we're going to give you the bullet points of what we think
Yeah,
are
it's a
the
guide.
important kind of quick Reader's Digest version of this
Correct.
character. And then we're looking for you to fill in the layers and fill in the blanks and fill in the backstory. We don't give that all to you. And you oftentimes don't get it, right? You don't always get a full script. You don't always
No,
get the context for a scene that you're given. And so we're asking you to fill in the rest of that world, that the rest of that human being.
correct.
And, that's so when we see performances and we see actors who've done that, even if it's different than we expected, we still look at it and go, wow, that was interesting. That was really
Yes.
unique.
Look, there's nobody that's one thing. Just look at
Yeah.
our own lives. Nobody is just all whatever the character breakdown says. That's not human.
Yeah.
And that's kind of an idea. So you have to take that idea and bring humanity to it. You get a strong sense Gaius was all those things I already said, but
Yes.
there was more to, in my opinion, him than just that. But it's a great guide. Like, okay,
Yes.
Roman, I
Yeah.
get it. Okay, I'm the
Yeah.
authority and blah 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 blah. But I can have that and so much more.
Yes. Yeah. I always talk about the layers of emotion, right? You aren't just mad. You're mad because of the next layer. You're hurt or you're offended or you're physically attacked, whatever. Like, it isn't ever just mad. So we
No.
typically in those breakdowns provide you the first layer. You talk about like the emotional wheel, right? We're
Oh
that
yeah, I've heard
first
you talk about
layer.
this. Very interesting. Yeah.
Yeah. So we give you the first wheel. We're looking for you to go to the second and third layer down and tell us why they're angry, why they're fearful, why they're hurt, why they're, we can't do that in a description. It would be pages long. So
Yeah.
that's what we're looking for, is those deeper layers, not just like you said, the stereotype or the obvious, like, oh,
Yeah.
it's all caps with exclamation points means he's mad. Okay, well, yes, but
Can I
what
give you one
really?
other example of that?
Please, please.
Okay, so I had a pilot audition a few years ago, and the character is kind of a mystical character, and he comes upon a woman who's about to jump off a cliff, and the line is, "Hey, hey, hey, what are you doing there?" All caps. So when I looked at that situation, and I said to
Mhm.
myself, if I am coming upon a person that is about to jump, if I startle them, they're going to fall.
Mhm.
So yelling made no sense to me.
Yes.
So in the audition, I just sort of leaned for, I was like, hey, 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 what are you doing there? And I can almost guarantee you, if you looked at those auditions, hey, 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 what are you doing there?
Yes.
Hey, 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 what are you doing there? Ah. But then they come across an audition where somebody thought about it a little bit,
Right,
and
exactly.
used their humanity and said, I would never do that. I would scare
Yes.
that person and I would kill them, which is the opposite of what I'm trying to do. So
Right.
I agree with you. Caps doesn't mean yelling. You have to look, an actor, in my opinion, needs to look at the situation and ask one simple question. What would I do if I was in this situation?
Right. Right.
That's where you start.
Yes.
And then you start with your truth, your humanity, your life experience, your uniqueness, and just use common sense. And I think when you do that, it stands out.
Yes, I would absolutely agree because, you know, I said a moment ago that the all caps is telling you an intensity, not a volume. So it's yes, you chose to take it in a way that felt truthful, but I can imagine the heart would be beating, the adrenaline would be up. Like that's an intensity of feeling and of circumstance, a physiological manifestation of what you're feeling that is all caps and exclamate, like this person's going to die. What do I do? How do I talk to them? You know, like that's the intensity. That's the all caps. It's not the yelling part of it.
Yeah, it's really the intention. And the intention is to start a conversation.
Yeah. Yeah.
Like what are you doing? Why you know what I mean? So that's the intention, and that intention is intense because somebody's about to kill themselves.
Right. Exactly.
So yeah, we're both saying the same thing.
Exactly.
You can't just. In fact, when I memorize, I take out all punctuation. I take out all caps. I capitalize words because I'm dyslexic, so it gets confusing. So I just clean up. I clean it all, no dot, nothing. And then I type it out on a separate piece of paper so I can just see my dialogue. So I start seeing things that the writer might not have even intended because I'm putting things together in a way that makes sense for my brain. You know what I mean?
No, absolutely. Yeah, that's an interesting way to approach that. A really interesting way to approach that. That's great. I'm going to look at a few of our comments here. Susan Willis, this is off subject, but she says, hello from Texas, camping out at my folks. Since content can't go home to Georgia just yet. So you guys, all of our family, put Susan and her family and all of her neighbors in your prayers because they're having a tough time. So
Susan, what do you mean content? What?
Oh, content was a film festival, a conference, and it took place in Texas, and it was last week, right before or kind of during it overlapped the hurricane. So she's saying she can't go home.
Oh, wow.
She can't go home from that festival because obviously things aren't good in Georgia. So Susan, we'll the Army will be praying for you and your family and all of that and what you're going through. And just know that just take it a day at a time. Let's see. Chase Giacomo.
Chase.
Yes, exactly. Chase
he is my first student.
Chase. That's awesome. I got the joy of coaching with Chase too. So awesome. Lovely. So Chase says, most know that Kirk is an amazing actor and acting coach, but I don't know if everyone knows how incredible of a person he is. Genuinely cares and roots for people's success. So that's your first student singing your praises.
Thank you, brother Chase.
Let's see. Let's see if there's Tina Rich says, glad to see Kirk Woller's here. You, sir, play an amazing range of emotions. Thank you for the way you've played Gaius. We've been so blessed by your character's transformation. Let's see. I just want to make sure I'm not skipping any questions. Lots of, yes, I agree with you. Yes, that's awesome. Kirk's awesome.
So are you guys. Thank you. That's very kind. Very humble.
Richard Zarang says, Kirk is right about succeeded, and I know that God has given me the gift, but he also gave me Michael Jordan a gift, and Michael was the first at practice, last to leave. Am I willing to put forth the effort? That's a important question to ask for sure.
But Michael Jordan's mental game was incredible. He had an amazing ability to stay present. These guys, they go to the ashrams and they go up in the hills and they try to block, like, he stayed present.
Yes.
His mental game was not on winning. It was about making the shots, doing the fundamentals, getting the ball in the basket, not an end result.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, he's a great example of discipline, hard work. Get up every day.
Yeah, and he wasn't about becoming famous. He wasn't about becoming who Michael Jordan became. He was about winning games and doing his job, which led to all of that. But that wasn't the goal. And you see that sometimes in athletes that do have the goals mixed up, right? And they are about, like, I got to get to the NFL. I'm going to be a star. And then it oftentimes doesn't last. It is a mental game for sure.
I think something I kind of think about, sorry if I'm interrupting, but I want to throw this out to everybody watching, is my goal has always been and will continue to be that I want to be so good that you can't ignore me.
Yes. Yes.
So I get up every day to get better and better and better and better, not for any other reason, but to get better.
Right. Because that's the goal.
If you're good, everything else will take care of itself.
Yes. So someone mentioned they just went to an early screening for Best Christmas Pageant Ever. And so, okay, that's a very different character, right? I haven't seen it yet. I haven't seen a cut of the film yet. But so tell me, now you're playing a pastor, right? Dealing with
Reverend Hopkins.
Kids. Reverend Hopkins. I love it. So tell me what that was like as far as working on that project, working with those kids. Just give us an insight as to what that was like for you.
Awesome. Thank you for these lovely questions. So Gaius, the chosen is life or death. Let's face it.
Yes.
It's a very intense environment. It's a very dangerous environment. It's first century. Rules are very shaky. Rome is occupying. It's dangerous.
Yeah.
So when I'm working on The Chosen, I really stay to myself. I'm very quiet. I'm not disrespectful. I'm kind. Hello, thank you. I never bring my cell phone to set. And I just basically stay to myself because I want to stay in that intense world. I'm not a good enough actor to talk about the Dodgers and then suddenly go into an intense scene. I sort of stay in that arena, that pocket, that space. So I'm quiet. I'm always in earshot. You don't ever have to find me. I'm listening for first team, and then I come out from hiding and work. Reverend Hopkins is completely different. I'm the reverend of a church. Part of a reverend's job is to create community. So on that set, again, a Dallas Jenkins film, which honored and blessed to be a part of, always privilege of a lifetime, honestly. I was I was introducing myself to everyone. You could tell we were in Canada. The background, a lot of people had not really, they were very stiff. I was going, hey, nice to meet you. Welcome to my church. I was very gregarious. I was trying to make everyone feel welcome, because when I was doing scenes sometimes I didn't want them to stare back at me feeling tense. I want you to feel comfortable and relaxed. So I made it a point to introduce myself to every single background person I possibly could in the context of what we were shooting, and literally create community on set. So that helped me be a better reverend on the show, because I felt responsible. Kirk, as an actor, this is not weird methody stuff. This just makes my job easier. That's what is called for in the character. Gaius has an intensity. Reverend Hopkins is creating community and love and understanding. And you got to take
Yes.
these herdman kids and you cannot judge them. And so trying to be sort of the policeman, if you will, because a lot of the community of my community doesn't want these kids because they're troublemakers. And I'm like, I have to sort of be the one to kind of lay down the gauntlet at one point and go, whoa, whoa, let's, so it's this interesting balance of being a good community organizer, but being firm when you have to be. So
That's
anyways,
so
different.
No, yeah, that's an amazing insight into those different approaches. And I love that idea that as Gaius, there is a distance, a kind of walling off of him. He's
Yes.
not emotionally available. He's very focused and on whatever his goals are. And so in going into those scenes, the fellow actors feel that.
Yeah. And also but I would also add, like, I purposely don't go have a drink with Quintus, with Brandon.
Yes.
Or while we're filming, or
Right.
Paris, because it's easier for me. Maybe it's just easier for me. I can't go be 21st century buddy having a drink, talking Dodgers, and then I got to look at Quintus as, in my interpretation, as Gaius, the selfish individual he is, or Paris. It helps the scene if I create and keep that sort of distance.
Yes.
So it helps me as an actor so that I don't have to act. It really exists.
You just are. And then by the same token, creating that community, so it just makes that scene better for the Christmas pageant, because they're looking at you as someone they now like, as someone they now feel a connection to, someone that they would look up and smile and want to listen to, rather than, I'm an extra, I don't know what to do, this is awkward, and I don't know who that guy is. And you enrich the scene as a whole, not as well as your own character, but what a wonderful way to approach that, in just making the scene better. You aren't just focused on you're focused on it
has nothing to do with me, honestly. Acting is far less, is very egoless and very selfless, contrary to popular belief. It's not about me, it's about the others. And so
talk about that a little bit. Talk about that, because you're right. We think of it as ego driven and me oriented. So
no, ma'am.
Tell me about that.
Just to finish that one thought that no. I just want to make sure that I'm being clear, is that it's you're creating an environment, and whether I'm on camera or not, I'm going to be there, because the look that background is going to give is going to be different if I'm the one talking and they're filming them. It's going to be different than if it's going to be somebody else. It's also going to be different if we have a bond and a connection. That you can't, that's the truth. And the truth shows up on film.
Yes.
The camera knows the truth. So I want to bring as much truth that I possibly can to whatever environment I'm in, so that nobody's lying.
Yes.
Nobody's acting.
Right.
So anyway, thank you for letting me finish that.
No, and that's great. Although, because I talked about how the background looks at you, but it also changes how you look at them when you're playing the scene. They're now your friends. They're people you care about.
Yeah. I don't want to look at somebody that's like afraid. Right. That's going to mess me up.
Right.
Why is my congregation afraid of me? That's not going to serve the material. So I think, the craft of acting, and I think I really, really got this grounding from Sanford Meisner, the amazing acting coach. Hopefully actors watching know who that is. Taught some of our greatest actors in the last 100 years. I was fortunate enough to work with Sandy for 5 years. And what it is, it's not about, you don't pre-plan what you're going to do. Sandy taught me to be present. And in order to be present, he had like lung cancer and he kept on smoking. He was smoking like this. It was ridiculous. But he realized that what are the actors' problems? They get self-conscious, they get nervous, and they're constantly outside of themselves. So he came up with this exercise called repetition that forces you to listen, not to just what somebody said, but how they said it. So I am always reacting off of the other person. I'm not thinking about myself when I'm doing a scene. I'm looking at you. And I'm watching you, and I'm seeing how you say what you just said. And now what I'm going to say is going to be affected by how you just said what you said. So it's very immediate and it's very honest. So it's not about, it's about being interested, not trying to be interesting. It's about paying attention, not trying to get attention. So you have to get rid of your own ego. Like, you're going to give me everything. If I know what everything means to me and I've memorized my lines to the point of juggling like I do, all I got to do is come on set and listen to you. And you're going to tell me how to say my line. I'm depending on you and I'm watching you like a hawk. I don't have to do anything but listen. So that requires selflessness, that requires trust. What it really comes down to is empathy.
Interesting.
Empathy for not only yourself, how you're feeling, but how you are feeling, and how your feeling is making me feel. Because that's the only thing that's real in a scene is the person you're working with. You can't come in and go, I'm going to say this line like this line like that. I try to, you get so nervous and you don't like, I liked it better at home. It doesn't work. You get all in your head. But if you know what everything means to you and you come in and I just look in your beautiful eyes and I just pay attention to you and watch your behavior and work off of that. You just told me how to say my line. I don't have to do anything. And it's very relaxing. It's great to work that way.
Yeah, see, that's not, and that is kind of a confidence. You've done all the head work ahead of time, and that's why that is so important, right? You have the memorization, you have all the technical, you know, in the walkthroughs or first team walkthroughs and blockings and all of that. You've done all that. You've done all the up here, and then you do let that go. Believe that you know what you know. And then just exist in the moment. It's interesting. And those who join us regularly on Tuesdays will have heard me say this before, but in auditions, this happened a lot when we were in the room, but I even do it via Zoom. But if we were in the room and they were playing something and the actor was just going really, really big and, you know, with it. And I wanted to see what they would do because the reader will match that, right? So then they both get in the shouting match. And so I'll just lean over to my reader and say, don't raise your voice this time. And see if the actor responds to the fact that they're not getting that stimulus anymore, that loud screaming. If they don't change, then it tells me that they've kind of decided in their brain, I'm going to be mad. No matter what happens in this scene, I'm going to be screaming and I'm going to be mad. But if they sense the change and they change, then a whole different, and it kind of throws them off. It makes them be in the moment. It makes them react organically in the moment to just change that. You know, I love that part of auditioning, and I love doing that because when you see good actors respond to that kind of a change and that kind of a move, it's just the best. That's when you go, okay, that's an actor.
Yeah, absolutely. I think what's important as an actor is that your job is to believe.
Yes.
That's what you have to believe what you're doing. And if you don't believe, if I don't believe, you're not going to believe.
Right.
And if I'm not working off of what exists, then bad actors, a lot of people don't know why somebody's a bad actor. Here's why. Because they're lying. They do not believe what they're saying. And as human beings, we can all sniff out a liar, basically, except some people are really great at lying. But we go, you watch them and you just don't believe them. So what they're doing is they're trying to play a trick on me.
Yeah.
You're
Yeah.
trying to trick me that you are feeling these
Right.
things when you're not feeling at all. The only way to really feel is to do what we're talking about and be present
Yes.
and work off of what exists, because
Right.
that's real and that shows up on film. Not an
Yeah.
idea
Yeah.
of how you want to do something. It's the
Yeah.
truth of me reacting off of you
Right.
that is captured
Right.
on film, and that's what's real and believable. It's not an
Now,
idea.
is that a part of, I hear actors say, and you can't judge your character.
Oh, absolutely.
Is that part of it? Like,
Oh,
explain that
yeah.
idea to me as an actor.
Quite simply, I have to justify for Kirk Woller why I do what I do. For Kirk, that's personally acceptable to me. So let's say I'm playing somebody that's I'll go something political, hot topic, abortion. Let's say this week I'm playing somebody who's pro-abortion. What I have to do is get in the mindset and understand why somebody believes that, because I know beautiful people who are on
Hmm.
opposite sides of that fence, but I want to hear and understand why they think that way. What is it about their ideology that makes them believe this versus that? So, what I do is I get behind their thinking and I
Yes.
make it my own, even if it's not me, my personal. So, I can't say, oh my God, this, if I play a person that is pro abortion, that I'm some kind of a murderer, because I guarantee you that person does not think they're bad or wrong.
Yes.
So
Yes.
everybody has a justified reason for why they do what they do. And in
Yes.
that way, I got to get behind the mindset of why this person is killing this person, or why this person is falling in love with this person, or
Hmm.
how, I've got to get in their brain, because the most
Yes.
notorious characters in history did not think they were bad people.
Right.
They
Right.
didn't wake
Right.
up and go, I'm a bad person. No,
No. Right.
not even serial killers. They have a justified reason for why they're doing what they're doing. So our job as an actor is to find out what that is. And
Right.
then, under the imaginary circumstances, find a way to believe that for yourself,
Yeah.
because then that's true. And then the
Right.
opposite. Next week, I'm playing somebody that's anti abortion. I've got to get behind that. And I got to
Right.
understand the ideology, and I got to believe it from action to cut. So for me, in those moments, it's not weird methody stuff. It's just I believe,
Right.
because I
Right.
understand this point of view. So I think that is also important in life, is empathy. Is to, you can't just denounce. The country can be so divided in so many ways, but like, why are you thinking that way? And just because you
Right.
think that doesn't mean you're a bad person. I just don't agree with your ideology,
Right.
your thinking, but I
Right.
still love you as a human being. You can't
Yes.
dismiss the person because they have a different point of view. So I think you have to justify. The
Yeah.
writer said you're going to do this, 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 and this.
Right.
He or she just, okay. So I got to believe that for myself. So yeah, there's no room for judgment. I can't say, oh, I'm being manipulative, or this
Right.
guy's a jerk. This guy's, a bad person, or this
Yeah.
guy, I'm going to take advantage of this person. You cannot, because that person does not think that.
Right. Right. Yeah. And it's interesting because, a lot of the people who join us on Tuesdays, of course, are people of great faith. And so, understanding, how do you play the Satan character? How do you play the rapist or the murderer
Absolutely.
or the man who cheats on his wife? And, how do you play those? And we don't appreciate the light until we understand the darkness. And so any story of light has darkness. There's in it,
Yeah.
and so it's just like Gaius's transformation that he's undergoing. We can't understand who he is now without understanding and learning who he was, when we started, when we first met him.
Right.
And
But
so go ahead. No, go
no, I
ahead.
just want to throw this up. But by way of example, Gaius has two sons from
Hmm.
two different women. When
Yes.
I read that, I was like, ooh, okay. I personally have never cheated on anybody I was with in my entire life. So, okay, Kirk, what are you going to do with this?
Mm.
You know, a little clue into where my head went was, has anyone thought that maybe the wife did something?
Interesting.
So I go down the road of, under what circumstances, Kirk, would you have a child with somebody else? What would be the circumstances that might lead to that? Perhaps your wife cheats on you. Perhaps she says she doesn't love you anymore. Perhaps she moved out. We don't know the story
No, we
because
don't. We
it's not
don't.
revealed. So I, as the actor, get to create a story that I can believe, that
Yes.
I can understand. Now, my character says I regret my actions, and I do. But for the time, and at the time, there's a justified reason for it. I wasn't a bad person.
Yes.
There's a reason. There were circumstances that led to my action of having a child with another woman.
Yes.
And so in this way, you have to find a way to believe it for yourself.
Yes. 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 Absolutely. And we have to, we see that part of his story, and it just enriches our understanding and our relatability as a human to a human.
Correct.
We are all
Flawed.
a mess of flaws and mistakes and victories,
Absolutely.
all of it, all wrapped up into one. So yeah, I think I know sometimes there's a hesitancy, like I don't want to play characters like that, or that goes against my personal, but
No.
there is a
It's
way
about the story. It's about the story. Look, if I'm playing a serial rapist in a film that illuminates the ugly truth about that world,
yes,
then the message of I'm serving a purpose. And the purpose is to make that believable because the film has a higher good.
yes,
I'm not a serial rapist. No,
right.
I never will be. But my job is to be believable under these circumstances, so this story can be told. So really, it's a question of what is the overall story going to tell the world? And if you can get behind that, I believe you can play anything.
I agree. I absolutely agree. Okay, I'm going to ask some more questions. So Amy Brady says, who has been your favorite character to play and why? Do you have a favorite?
Yeah, I'm not a very good person with favorites, honestly.
Okay.
Like, what's your favorite color? I don't know. I like green. I get
it.
But I will say this: there's no question. What Gaius would be my answer, and here's the reason: because of the range.
Yes.
Of what you get to see, you get to see the hard side and the soft side, and as an actor, to be able to embody that whole story is an absolute privilege of a lifetime. So that's so he's a very complete human being, and that's what a good television series will do.
Exactly.
Is you get to see this journey. So it's been very satisfying, and like I said, it's an honor and a privilege of a lifetime.
Yeah, it's Gaius. Our impression of Gaius would be very different if there had only been a season 1. You're now on season 5, and so any character you get to play for 5, 6, 7 seasons just gets richer and deeper, and the writers know how to write for you more specifically, and they understand you and how you bring him to life. And so that's a joy being in a series. Okay, let's see. Carolyn Wong says, who have been some of your mentors and what lessons did they impart to you? Now, you talked about Meisner, so it sounds like you might have kind of answered that question, but anybody else come to mind?
Yeah, there was another major mentor for what I do today, and it was a guy named Alan Vint. Now, Alan Vint was an actor. He came when I was working with Sandy. We started the Sanford Meisner Center for the Arts. Literally, I helped build the literal stage we worked on, and we were getting LA Theater Pick of the Week and all kinds of great accolades. Alan came in to be a guest director, and he gave me, in directing me in this piece, it was totally different than what I had learned from Sandy. What I learned from Sandy was amazing, but there was something still missing for me. Sandy was all about behavior, emotion, work off. The lines are like a boat on top of the emotional river. An ounce of behavior is worth a pound of words. It was emotion. But it never, in other words, don't think. Now, as a human being, I think all the time. So I thought to myself, well, if I'm working as an actor, why can't I think? Because that's real too, isn't it? So Alan gave me permission to think. And because I was so inquisitive about his approach, he just guest directed. And I kept on asking so many questions. I think he got kind of annoyed and started teaching his own class. And so I was taking those classes as well. And so I think I read all the books on acting from Stanislavski to Udo Hagen and Stella Adler, everybody. I understood all these tools, but Alan helped me make sense of them.
I
So
love
Andy
that.
taught me heart, and Alan kind of taught me head that leads to heart.
Interesting.
So I think and feel my way through every scene. Sorry.
I love that. And I love the idea that it isn't always about finding that one method, that one teacher, that one way of approaching your craft. It can be an amalgamation of different methods or different processes that really become who you are as an actor, individually and uniquely, for sure. Okay, let's see. Peggy Schott says, what type of character would you like to play in the future?
Oh, wow. Great question. Hi, Peggy. She joins the monthly actor class sometimes.
Awesome.
Boy, what character would I like to play in the future? Wow. Okay, there's always one that I think I would love to play. I hope this is not going to offend anybody, but when I was growing up, there was this kid at a bus stop in Maryland. Great kid, and his name was Kenny. And Kenny talked like this. He would like, Kenny, and I never forgot because he was so smart and he was so nice, but it was filtered through on some level what I just did.
Yes.
I would love to play a character like Kenny that on the outside, it's one thing. Emotional thinking about it, but on the inside, it's something else. In other words, you can't judge a book by its cover.
Yes.
So that's one thing. And another thing, I'd love to play a character that never speaks.
Oh, interesting. Okay. Yeah. Oh, I love that. That's interesting. Quite a challenge. Let's see. Charles Babler says, Kirk, you're a champion at bringing your characters to life and yet humbling yourself so it highlights your scene partner. And Amy Brady says, you were so kind to my daughter Bella and I when we were background for The Chosen. It made such a difference. Let's see.
Thank you for working background, those heroes. I started as background.
Did you tell me about that?
Seattle. It was Harry and the Hendersons. I was background, but my first was, it was Deborah Winger. Terry O'Quinn was in it too. And so funny because I went up to I was a background and I went up to Terry O'Quinn. Black Widow was the name of the film.
Yes, I remember that film.
And I went up to Terry O'Quinn just on a moment and I said, what do I do? I want to make my living as an actor. And he gave me advice. Cut to, I don't know how many years later, 15, 20 years later, he's the head coach and I'm the assistant coach in Hometown Legend.
How fun was that? That is so fun. I love that. I love that. So Melissa Sullivan said, I love that you recommend the inner game of I love that you recommend the inner game of tennis, total mental change. So is that a book that you've recommended? I'm not familiar with that one. So tell me about it.
Yeah, I recommend that to all of my students. It's a book. It's called The Inner Game of Tennis. And it's deceiving. The title is deceiving because what it's really about, in short, is self one and self two. And self one is critical. It's always judging. It's in its head in negative ways. Self two just tries to hit the ball over the net. And so what it's about is a mental game. And it's about how you have to have control of where your mind goes and how it goes, and to stay out of judgment and stay into your body will know what to do if you just trust it and follow it. And so that game the inner game of tennis is exactly what it says. It's the inner game that you have to succeed. And what it really comes down to is being present.
Interesting. I
Those who
love that.
stay present win. Yeah.
So the inner game of tennis, you guys look that up. And someone is asking for clarity on Alan's last name.
Vint, Vint.
Okay.
Wonderful actor. He did some Panic at Needle Park with hey, I can't think of his name. One of our greatest actors. You know, who's that?
Oh, yeah.
Oh my God, I feel like an idiot.
Has Alan written anything or is he
No.
teach? Yeah. Okay.
No. What I, however, am doing in complete transparency, what he taught me, I pass along to my students.
Okay. So is that when you talk about the Woller method, tell me about that.
Okay. Wow. Thank you again. If somebody can remember that actor's name, so I don't walk away.
Oh, the Huya actor?
Yeah, he's like in the scent of a woman. It's like.
It's Pacino.
Pacino. Thank you.
Yeah, I have to do that too. I'm
Hair
like
casting director.
Yeah.
Thank you. He saved me. Okay, the Woller technique is sort of what I described. Like you so beautifully said, look, what I pass along is not the be all end all. What I'm passing along is what, after training with so many, I have a master's degree from the FSU Oslo Conservatory of Professional Actor Training in Florida. So I have a master's degree and train. It's a 2-year MFA program. So I trained there. I was training in Seattle under Diane Hostetler and Pat French. And then I trained with Sanford Meisner. And then I trained with Alan Vint. And what I did is, through the process of working with all those amazing individuals, I came up with something that works for me. That's what I pass along. Okay. And that I believe it will work for those who really execute what I'm passing along. If you can do what I'm talking about, which is what we have to get up every day to perfect, it will work. And so what is that technique? In short, it's the ability, think of a triangle. First of all, it's the ability to live in the moment and be present. You have to work from yourself, not from an idea. I remember working with Ed Harris. I was doing a scene, like not in a movie or something, but in a class. And he stopped and he goes, "You're the guy." And I'm like, yeah, okay. I'm the guy. And he goes, "No, you are the guy." The second time I was like, okay, okay, I'm the guy. And he goes, "You are this guy. Scratch out the character name. It's you in this situation. You are the guy. Kirk is Gaius. Gaius is Kirk." And so Sandy said the same thing. He'd yell and scream at me, "Stop being an actor." The first time he said it, I thought he was kicking me out of class. And he goes, "Stop being an actor." And then he followed up with, "Just be a human being in this situation."
Yeah.
Stop acting. Just be, you're in the situation. You're falling out of love. You're falling in. Just be in the situation. Stop having an idea of how what that should look like and live it. That's the first thing we do, is to learn to be yourself through some of Sandy's exercises. And I've come up with a couple of other things to implement that. I mean, little in between steps that he never did to help students understand. And so you learn to live in the moment and be yourself. The second thing of that I don't know if you can see it, triangle, is Alan Vint. And it's 12 tools that I use, which are basically 12 questions that I ask myself with every role I play. The first being, what is the event of the scene? Like, what is this? I think there are only so many emotions and so many events, right? I mean, I know we have the wheel and variations. But what is what's the event? So for example, this is a scene about betrayal. Yeah. This is a scene about a loss of faith, finding faith. This is a scene about coming of age. And it's in the ability to step back and see the totality of something and not just go down and start chewing bark off the trees. Like, what's going on? And so there are 12 tools, 12 things that I ask myself for every character. Then this was my little contribution to this, and I didn't know how to call it. When Chase said, I thought I was going to hook him up with another teacher. He said, no, I want to train with you.
Mhm.
So I don't, never planned on training. And I said, can I think about it? So, because I didn't know exactly what I did. I had no curriculum. What do I do as an actor? I call it a sequential roadmap. And what that is this. I know I take those 12 tools and I make every line mean something to me. Here and here. And it is a sequential, logical series of opinions that I have on everything I'm saying.
Yeah.
When you work in the theater where I started, you got 6 weeks to find the character and you got all these rehearsals. As an actor on film and television, you don't have that time. You show up, you're lucky to get a blocking rehearsal, and you start shooting. So what I do is I take this sequential roadmap of meanings, of what everything means to me and why I'm saying what I'm saying, and I go over it when I run 7 days a week. And as I'm running, I'm going through only my dialogue of the scene 100 times, 200 times. Season 3 of The Chosen, I was in 7 episodes. On my run of about 50 minutes, I would go through the entire season, scene by scene, episode by episode, 2.5 times as I was running. And sometimes I do it for, okay, what I'm thinking about here, what this means, and then I'll mumble the line to myself, what I'm thinking about it means, and I go through it hundreds of times. So by the time I get to set, I haven't rehearsed how I'm going to do it.
Yes.
That happens in the moment, but what I am crystal clear on is what everything means to me and why I'm saying what I'm saying. So I'm going in with guns fully loaded, and I know the scene already, this basic structure of that sequential series of logical reasons for why I'm saying what I'm saying. So it's logical and emotional reasons for why I'm saying what I'm saying. And that, in a nutshell, is the Woller technique. I hope that wasn't too complicated.
No, that's great. And I hope you guys will check that out. And if you have an opportunity to either do one-on-one coaching with Kirk or to take one of his workshops or classes through Actor Class, and I'll get that information from you in just a second. But I think one of the things that strikes me from what you just talked about is that you are only going through that for your part of the dialogue.
That's it.
And you aren't anticipating or pretending or assuming how that other dialogue is going to come at you. You are simply having your lines make sense and then leaving yourself open.
That's correct. And before I go, like a week before, my son or my lovely wife will run lines with me. I haven't looked at the other person's lines, because inherent in weeks or a month, what's inherent in my line is their line.
Yes.
Because I'm responding to them. So I kind of know what it is, but I don't know exactly. So what this also does is it forces me to listen.
Yes, I love that. I love
when
that.
I start running it, they're like talking, I'm going, oh, wow, that's going to make my line easier. But I've already worked out my own logic. So I make connections from every single line myself. I have a logical roadmap and connect my own lines. I don't need anybody else's lines. So what happens is, when I'm on set, I know what I'm going to say next. Think about it. Right now, somehow, I know what I'm going to say next. My brain gets it before my mouth.
Yes.
So it's the same thing. So if I know what I'm going to say next, I can totally listen to you.
Yes. 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 Yes.
I already know what I'm going to say. I'm fine. So what is she doing?
Right.
So I just listen.
I love what you said, that you know what you're going to say or why you're going to say, but not how you're going to say it.
No, how comes as a result. I know what it means to me. So if you look at like season 3 episode, I forgot the episode, sorry, but it's Shahar and me at night when I'm out of uniform and I've been drinking a little bit. And like what he says to me, my first line is, what are you looking at? Now, what does that mean to me? Well, I'm the authority figure. He's staring at me. I know the text says that I have the first line and he's going to be staring at me. So what do I think about that? Well, I'm the authority. if I go out and stare at a cop right now, the cop is probably going to come over and say, "Can I help you?" or something, right? So it's not
Right.
really smart to stare at authority. So that's one part of what I think about him staring at me ahead of time. The other part is every time I'm out of uniform, that's the way people look at me. It's like seeing your teacher at Costco. It's like, you're not supposed to be here. It's weird, right?
Yeah.
So the other part of it is I know why he's looking at me oddly. So I know what it means to me. But now I walk on set and I know what it means to me. Those two things, basically. And then how does Shahar look at me? Does he go? Or does he? So if he goes, then my line is going to be, what are you looking at?
Right.
Because he's being aggressive and you don't do that to authority. He's out of line. There's a curfew. He's not even supposed to be out here. I could arrest him. So I understand the context of everything. But what does the wonderful actor do? He kind of, so what are you looking at? It's got to come out of the moment and what he does. I know what it means to me. Not cool to stare at authority, but I totally understand why you're looking at me that way. But he just told me how to say my line.
Yes.
Based on how he said, he didn't even say anything in that first line. And then I could go on and give examples in that scene, but I am working off how he says what he says.
Okay, you guys are getting like a master class from this man here.
So nice.
I could talk to you literally for hours, and we've gone longer than we normally do because I just didn't want to stop because I'm also learning so much from you. But
thank you.
Oh, all these people wrote Pacino.
Thank you, everybody. Idiot. Pacino.
I know. When I wasn't looking at it to see Pacino, I was still trying. Yeah, I love it.
And Alan did a film, Panic at Needle Park, which was one of Pacino's earlier films. It's an interesting film. Alan plays like a cop, and Pacino is a drug dealer.
Okay. So how can they find you for either actor class, or it looks like Mark Tucker put in the comments, he put the link for actor class, and then for product one-on-one, that must take it to a link to like book a session with you, right?
Correct. Yeah. I think there's two things I would love people to be aware of. First is actor class, and actor class, it's actor. We all know how to spell that, but class is spelled with a K as an homage to my German heritage. Klasse, it's Deutsch for Klasse. So actorclass.com. And what that is basically a monthly mentorship. I have a guest mentor. My mentor this Saturday, it's the first Saturday of every month, is Elijah, who plays Atticus on The Chosen.
Yep.
So this lovely lady was also a guest, and I asked you questions for about an hour, and then I opened it up to the group. You stayed like 4 hours. It was crazy. To date, still the most successful group mentorship we've ever had.
Oh, that's awesome. Awesome.
It
awesome. It stirred in me something that led to all of this. So thank you.
No, thank you for doing what you're doing. It's amazing. So that's what Actor Class does is basically it's a once a month group mentorship. But then to learn more about what my approach and what I do, and selfishly a little bit more about my background and me, it's called thewallertechnique.com. So that's the, and then WOLLER, and then the word technique.com. And there it just shows you who I've worked with, what my approach is. It's just, it's a little, I hope it doesn't come across as egotistical or anything, but it's like, no, it's just like, here's what I've done. So,
it's awesome.
I think it's important that you vet. That has nothing to do with me. Whoever you work with, please vet them. Go on IMDb, because there are frauds out there and people that claim they trained with Meisner. They took one class with a guy 50 levels below Sandy, and now suddenly in some market they're the Meisner expert, and that's a crime in my opinion. So vet these people, look them up. So what I'm trying to do on my website is go, here's what I've done, here's what I've worked with. Just please know that's who I am, and so I'm not full of it.
Yeah, no, I think that's awesome. That's wonderful. So
You
let's
can book me one-on-one through Actor Class website, and you can also do that from the wallertechnique.com. And there's going to be more, like Elijah wants to teach. Brandon Potter, who plays Quintus, has already taught one-on-ones or two-on-ones. And Demetrius, who is also going to be teaching, and he plays Lazarus. Right? Did I say that?
a little story
Yes.
about behind Elijah. And this is totally like, if God has it for you, it's going to be for you no matter how it happens, which is, Elijah, the role originally was cast with someone who was a name, a recognizable name and a face. And that person, it was during COVID. And so they had to test prior to travel and they tested positive. And so I got the call, and Elijah had been our first choice. And of course, you know how that is, the battle of like bringing a name, and wonderful actors lose out to names all the time. And, and that was one of those cases. And Elijah was the guy we had loved. And so, it was like, where are you, Elijah? You free for the next, however long. And the rest is history. And man, talk about, I can't even imagine anyone else playing that role. I just can't even imagine. And really, it was supposed to be his role. It was just supposed to be. I mean, I'm sorry for that actor who got COVID, but it was supposed to be Elijah's role, So
he does a tremendous job. So we're going to talk a little shop this Saturday. It's always at noon Pacific Standard Time. I've had two casting directors. I had Sibby, and then I also just had Lisa Beach. And it's always somebody different: actors, casting directors, writers. I've had Gary, Jonathan Sheck was also a guest. So
there's just you guys just. You saw the links on there. They're in the comments. Go and check all that out. We talk just about always be a student, always be learning, always be growing, always be exploring. And those are just some great ways for you to be able to do that. Kirk, I just love you more every time I get to spend some time with you and talk with you. And I just have the utmost respect for you, but you're also just a joy of a person. So you've been really, really insightful, and you've shared a lot of really good nuggets for our group tonight. And so just thank you for making the time and taking the time, and for jumping in with me alone without Diego.
I love it. I love the raw edition.
Yeah.
Thank you. Thank you, Beverly. You're just such a beautiful soul, and you're so kind, and your heart is in the right place. Anybody that works with you is truly blessed. And I love what you're doing, that you're sharing your knowledge with others. And I feel like we're both doing that, because I want there to be great content out there.
Thank you. Yes.
And we need good actors to do that. And certainly in the faith-based community, used to be pretty cheesy stuff, as we all know, but we've turned a corner. So we need, I mean, I don't know if everybody knows, it's 5 and 2 studios. They announced 3 Moses, book, Joseph, and then Acts called The Way.
Yes.
I mean, there's 3 more series that are coming as a result of The Chosen. And now it's a legitimate studio like Paramount or Warner Brothers. My point is, there is opportunity.
Yes.
So work hard.
Yes.
Be good at what you do. Be so good you can't be ignored, and the rest will take care of itself. That's been my philosophy. Trust me, I'm not the most talented guy. I just like to think I work harder than anybody else. So,
well, and you started off the night saying it's a mental game. For you, there is no plan B. Success is the only option. So if we have that mindset, then we're going to do everything we need to do to educate and arm ourselves with all the tools we can. I always say to the actors, whatever you have control over, admittedly, there's a lot you have no control over. But for those things that you can control and you can be proactive with, then do it 100%. because in many ways that'll overcome the stuff you don't have any control over. And yeah, and it's invigorating and exciting to experience new levels and new achievements and new characters and new aspects of yourself. And I'd love to see our actors just get excited at the idea of even just doing a self-tape for exercise, right? Choose those characters that challenge you and make you think differently. And so
look,
yeah,
I love what I do. I love the craft of acting. It is a craft. The best actors make it look like they're just talking, because basically they are. But I'm just saying that I love what I do, and I love mentoring. Never thought I would. And yeah, you got to love what you do. You have to have a passion. And as I've said annoyingly 10 times, you got to get up every day to perfect that and do exactly what you're saying, Beverly.
Yeah.
Like, go for it, man. I mean, you got to believe.
Yeah.
I know that sounds very trite, but it's
no, but that is the mental game. That, like you said, Michael Jordan didn't get on the court to fail. Like he just didn't.
Kobe Bryant too. And maybe I could just one last quote. Steph Curry plays for the Golden State Warriors. I heard this the other day. He has been taking, since his 11, 12, he's been taking 500 shots a day, every day.
Wow.
And he now has, I think, 3,000 3-point shots, the most out of all time. But do the math. That guy has taken, I don't know how many millions of shots to sink 3,000.
Yes.
So we get rewarded in public for what we practice in private.
Yes.
That guy worked his butt off. Kobe Bryant too. These amazing athletes. Roger Federer has the tennis player.
Yes.
Just unbelievable mental game. So it's about hard work,
Yeah.
It's
really it's every day. It's not just the days you get an audition. It's every day. When you get an audition, it just gives you a specific goal and a specific focus, but it's every day. So
I was in classes for 15 years. 15 years. I would work on something, I'd book something, and then went back to class. I just wanted to get better. I don't understand this. This doesn't make sense to me. I'm not doing a good job with that. It always was about getting better. So I don't know that you ever arrive. Are you ever perfect at golf?
No.
Look what happened to Tiger Woods. He was like, and then what happened? So you just, I'll never retire, and it's something I'll never perfect. I'm just trying my best to get it right when I'm offered the opportunity to do it. So.
Yeah, it's true. Well, and tomorrow you, as Kirk, tomorrow will be a different Kirk than today was Kirk. Every day we're a different version, because every day we have one more day of life that informs who we are and what our experiences are. And so, we never stop. We never stop.
No.
It's always moving forward, whether we're going to be with it or not. Right.
And know that when I say success is your only option, man, I'll tell you that there were some low points in that as well. And I cannot tell you how many people said, I hope you suck. You're a horrible actor. Get out of here. I'm not kidding.
I can't even imagine that.
Well, yeah, but I'm telling you, you have to have a short memory, and you just go, okay, thank you. And you walk out and you just go back to work.
Yes. Go back. Something is not connecting.
Listen, see what you can learn.
Yes.
Yeah. Okay. Well, what do you mean by that? I was always asking. And I think, so you're going to have lows. Success is your only option. What that means is you just keep going until and then you just keep going. Victory is the only thing. You just have to keep working to get there. That's all.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, we love you based on all the comments.
I love you too, Beverly. Thank you so much for having me. This has been
Yeah,
an
I think
absolute blessing. Thank you for inviting me.
it's just great. I wish you all the best, and you guys go check out his websites, and anytime you can learn, you can spend learning from this man will be time very well spent. So we love you and love all of
Love you
you
too.
guys, our
Thank you,
Let's Talk
everybody.
Tuesday family, and we will see you later. Bye.
See ya.